Alright, so welcome back to the channel. I have something pretty interesting for you guys, or at least I think it's interesting. And first off, just a little bit of an announcement. I am going to try to streamline the channel, more focusing towards vehicles, because that is a huge passion that I do have. So, and especially come springtime when I can take out my summer vehicle, and I'm be doing more review stuff in regards to that, which a lot of you guys have been asking, and people from Instagram have constantly been asking me about that. So I'm going to do that for you guys. If you do really like vehicle related content in regards to questions, buying vehicles, selling vehicles, advice, please subscribe and obviously hit the bell notification. Then you can see when I do upload content. I do upload a lot of other random stuff, so it's there if you want to watch it. But if you do like that, make sure you do subscribe. So without any further ado, except one thing, I will do my wrist check, which I am wearing my Casio Databank. It's on my wrist right now. I really love this watch, especially for 35 bucks. And the fact, well, that's Canadian, by the way, and the fact that it was featured in Back to the Future, which is one of, I think personally, one of the coolest movies ever because of the DeLorean. So actually, comment below what cool cars that you like, what cool cars are in movies that you really like. Yeah. So without any further ado, you guys came here not to listen to me rant about random stuff, but to talk about the pros and the cons of purchasing a used vehicle. Now, one thing that we do have to remember is that for me, I always like to go with the cons first. Not the people in prison, but the cons of these. Also, this ain't gonna win no beauty pageant award, or beauty contest, but it will do the trick. My writing isn't beautiful, and I'm also left-handed, so that means I erase 90% of what I write. So that big question that we were asking, should you buy a used car? Listen up, buckle up, and let's get down to business. Okay, so very first thing, unknown history. You don't know the history of the vehicle that you're purchasing, especially if it's a used car. You don't know where it was, whose butt sat in it. You don't know what people have done in it. That sounds really, really bad, but use your imagination. Actually, don't use your imagination. Just don't think about it, okay? You don't know what the history of the vehicle is. Also, side note for people, especially if you're buying, especially if you're buying it from a car dealership, like they ain't gonna tell you who traded in. Then be like, yep, it was a old little lady that only drove it to church, and you're just like, huh? Yeah. Don't always believe what you hear. Okay, that's a whole other thing about like the creepy used car salesperson. They'll take you for a ride, and they'll like pickpocket you, literally. Well, not like literally take your, well, they'll take your money, but just in a different way, and they'll trap you in something for 5 years. Be careful. Okay, so what I mean unknown history is you don't know what's going on. You don't know, and this is what I was going to say, service history. For goodness sake, people, if you want to have an easier time selling your vehicle, put it, first of all, in an ad that you have what's been done, and keep your receipts so you prove what's been done. Another thing that really irks me, and I think is really kind of bizarre, is I've gone a lot of times on Craigslist and Kijiji and places like ads. Facebook Marketplace is notorious for this, and it'll be like lady driven, and you go there and it's some dude, like single dude in his 20s, and you're like, huh? You're like, what? Or like mature driven, and it's like a 16-year-old selling it. And you're like, what? Do you have like an aging condition that I don't know of? Like, be honest. Just be honest. My goodness, how hard is it today? These days, it's like no one's honest. Bunch of fake people. Cue the "why you always lying" meme. Bad. Okay, so another thing is that you are going to not have as long of a time period to pay the vehicle back. So you are going to have a shorter loan period, and you won't have access to as good of finance rates. And that's 60 versus max out 96. So months, by the way. And so that's 5-year or 8-year term. And then usually with that, you're going to be looking at above 6%. All the way I've seen up into double digits interest rates, which is really not good for anybody. So shorter loan period, 60 months. So that can be a con. It just means you're going to be paying off the vehicle faster. But what that can mean is an indirect correlation is that perhaps your monthly payments might be larger. So that's one thing that people will try, and salespeople especially, they're gonna, when you this is when you finance, okay? Not if you're paying cash, you're paying cash, and we can have a whole conversation about that. So when you finance, is that if the term is shorter, you're gonna have to pay that amount out sooner, right? So larger monthly payments can ensue. Also, not as good of interest rates. That's no fun for anybody. Okay, so it's just gonna, those are some potentially negatives. Oopsies. Okay, so you will also sometimes have a shorter or no warranty. So the car might be out of warranty, or you'll have a shorter warranty period because it's, you know, whatever. People pay money for warranty. People pay money for peace of mind. They're afraid of something breaking down on them and they won't have the money to fix it. And they're like, if it's covered under warranty, yeah. So that's something that has to be taken into consideration. If you can fix your vehicles, that's another thing. But also, you are subject to supply and demand. Okay, and so what do I mean by that? Is that if you are very, very picky with which vehicle you would like to purchase, let's say it has to have certain options and stuff like that, is that you are kind of going to be at a disadvantage when you search for your vehicle because, well, chances are it has to appear in a for sale ad or a listing, and it's a lot harder. A good example is for me when I was searching for a new to me vehicle. It had to be an E92, so that means it had to be a coupe. It needed to be all-wheel drive. It needed to be a manual transmission. It needed to have the sports seats with the thigh support. So I had all these requirements, which made it much harder for me to purchase rather than just, you know, like going with anything. So you kind of have to keep in mind that you're subject to whatever supply is there. Also, if you were looking at a really old, like a vintage car, you can't just go in and order whatever you want. The same thing as when you're at a dealership. Let's say you can go in and order whatever you want, whereas here you can't. You are literally subject to whatever's on the lot, right? What is or not there. That's why it took me a year and a half to find a vehicle that I actually wanted. Okay, so now we're going to move over to the pros, the stuff where you actually care about. No, people do care about cons. Wow, that sounds like really dark. People don't care about people in jail. No, we do. They're there for. I was gonna say they're there for a reason. That's really bad. Hopefully not. There are innocent people in jail though. Okay, so side comment. Now, what was I going to say? So, yes. So pro is first of all value. Value, right? For instance, you can buy a Maserati Gran Turismo for about $40,000 to $60,000. Basically the way in the first couple of years of their generation. Now, if you take a consideration, that is like the upper end of a Honda Accord versus a like base entry model 3 Series. So just think, you're getting way more for what you're paying. Also, there is less depreciation. Let's put the word less in front of it. Less depreciation. And that can also actually attribute, you can actually get something dependent on certain things. You can have appreciation in the case of certain vehicles, collector's vehicles in particular, like the Mark IV Supra, R34 GTR, stuff like that. Especially certain JDM vehicles, you could buy them used, hold on to them for a couple of years, and all of a sudden their prices skyrocket. I saw that with like the S2000s as well, and same with some like oddball Hondas, like ITRs and other things. But those are always really cool. So, now this one is kind of a little bit of a misnomer, or I would say it's situational. Is that If there is no warranty, you don't have to worry about voiding your warranty with modifications. So I won't even really deal with that, but I'm going to talk about community and support. If a car has been around for a long period of time, it will generally tend to have a larger aftermarket support system, and there's going to be because you can't modify it under warranty, then without voiding the warranty, generally, unless you want to spend overpriced stupid garbage on their packages, you usually have access to way crazier things on the aftermarket scene once you've already run through that, right? So it kind of turns into a pro if you can treat the car however you want at that point without having to worry about voiding stuff. Okay, and then another thing would be cheaper. Cheaper insurance rates. Okay, so cheaper insurance rates. Obviously, people don't really think about that, but they are there. I always like to pay less for insurance because, well, you know, insurance is insurance. And then another thing, as time progresses, you obviously, you're more aware of which models to avoid. So you know which models and years to avoid of vehicles, because I would say hindsight is 20/20. I can look at vehicles, especially like it used, and I'm talking more like over a long period of time, not just like 1 or 2 years used, is that you can know, well, even a year, you could figure out if it's a total trash heap, right? You'd be like, oh, well, if it has X amount of recalls, like usually all the recalls have already been done. You know which models to avoid, right? So you know what's a crapshoot and what's not. So yeah, but those are all the pros and the cons that I really want to talk to you about for today. Now, as I said, if you do like the content, please hit the like button, leave me a comment talking about, maybe just let me know your favorite car. I also did, you know, you can leave a comment pretty much anything you want, really. But yeah, so like it, leave a comment, subscribe to see more awesome stuff, especially coming up because it's getting warmer and I can't wait to bring out my other vehicle, and we'll be talking more about that. But yeah, so on that note, I'm gonna end it there. Make sure you guys have a fantastic day, stay out of trouble, and stay safe, everybody.